Welcome to the Money Maven Project podcast. If you're here to learn how to obtain freedom over your time and money through real estate investing, you're in the right place. Create the life you want by living with intention and becoming a Maven in mindset, money, and real estate. Now, here's your host, Justin Monk.
This is Justin Monk with the Money Maven Project podcast. We are super excited today. We've got Devin Hubbard here with us. Man, we've tried like 3 or 4 times to line this up. So I'm super excited that we're finally getting it done. And we've actually had a lot of engagement on the side, like with the meetups and things like that. And so we've actually kind of we've got to know each other a little bit on the side. And so now I'm looking forward to really diving into what you're up to, learning more about what you're going after. So Devin is married with 5 kids. He enjoys sports, traveling, outdoors. You started investing 7 years ago part-time, doing flips, wholesaling, rentals, and now you're doing that full-time. You've been doing that full-time for 3 years. Started in residential, single family, and now kind of transitioning to multifamily development. And you've also been an agent for most of that time. Is that right?
Yep. Once I went full-time 3 years ago, I decided it was a wise idea to get my license as well. So
yeah. Well, perfect. So let's start at the beginning of all that. Talk to us about, what got you interested in real estate investing, how you got started, and then it sounds like you were kind of doing it on the side initially, and how you transitioned into it full-time. Just kind of give us the rundown of how that all came about.
Yeah. So I was working my 9 to 5 for about 12 years. We had just had my 3rd kid, and I ran into, I think it was like a Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminar. And I actually ended up meeting a guy that sat next to me in that seminar that said, "Are you interested in real estate?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm here, right?" Like, kind of a funny question, but
yeah.
Anyway, he ended up introducing me to a local company that did all sorts of different real estate investing, and education, networking, community. And so my wife and I just kind of started plugging into that. And I still worked my full-time job for about 3 years. But we transitioned and picked up a rental, did our first fix and flip, did our first wholesale. And that really opened our eyes to, holy smokes, like this real estate money is real, and it's a lot better, a lot more exciting than collecting that paycheck every 2 weeks that I knew for sure, maybe if I could work a crazy amount of hours and overtime, I might be able to make this, extra couple $100. But, our first fix and flip, we netted $26,000. Our first wholesale deal, we partnered with some friends and made like $6,000 or $7,000. And it was, very, very little time. And I was like, holy smoke, like it just opened our eyes and changed our total mindset on, what was possible and what we could do outside of our 9 to 5. So that's kind of how we got started.
I love that. And so what were you doing as your main gig, your full-time employment?
Yeah. So the church that I'm a part of has a welfare program. And so I worked there for about 12 years, doing production type stuff with missionaries and volunteers and packaging food and sending it, whether it was here in the United States or overseas to the poor and needy. It was a good job, and it had good benefits and things. And it was, it was serving an amazing purpose. But for me, I wasn't fully fulfilled and felt like I was thriving and loving what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so just had bigger dreams and aspirations. And so, it definitely served its purpose.
Yeah.
And I've kind of learned along the way too, there's things that drive us. It's either the positive or the negative. The negative is so bad that it pushes us away and forces us to get into better situations and better ourselves. or there's things that are so good that, those are what attract us. And so I guess, hopefully that makes sense, but there's, there's the good and the bad that either, drive us to become better and do better. And it was definitely a combination of probably the two that helped me, because there's days where I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore. So I think there's definitely some driving force behind, that type of thing that pushed me forward. So,
well, that's super cool. I actually, in my head, I'm thinking, hey, well, this is actually cool because you're going to go kill it in real estate and then turn around and probably be funding some of those projects through that welfare program with your giving and your generosity that way. So it's kind of, I think it's going to come full circle for you. Just predicting, just saying, but, and ultimately, I think that's ultimately the goal, right? I mean, you're going to be able to give way more as a wealthy real estate investor than you could ever do in that job ultimately, which is kind of cool. So that would be a cool other whole conversation. But so you do this for a while. You're like, okay, we've done a few deals, and hey, let's jump into it full time. How did you make that transition without freaking out, and kind of what went into that?
Yeah, it's funny. So many people get hung up on the retirement stuff or the health insurance type stuff. And just through, networking and meeting people and learning like the insurance that my wife and I have now on our family through the government is way, way better than some of the stuff I've had in the past. And it's way more affordable. So I think it's just gaining the right knowledge, because so many people are scared to walk away from their job because of benefits or, this or that, or whatever that security blanket is. And so for us, it was, that third year when we were doing real estate part-time, we made twice as much in real estate part-time as I was making at my full-time job. And so, I was making about $60K a year working full-time. And that year in real estate, we made about 120 part-time. And it's like, man, like it was actually my wife at that point that's like, when are you going to put in your 2 weeks? Like it was cool. It was cool to have her support and because sometimes it's hard to have both, on the same page if you're married or whatever. And so we were both on the same page. And ultimately that was definitely the goal, is to be able to do it full time. But getting to that point was definitely like, that was the point where we're like, okay, we have that confidence and comfort level of being able to walk away from our job and knowing that we've got other stuff going on too in the pipeline that we can definitely do this full time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so in that third year, when you make the 120, is that from wholesaling a bunch of deals, flipping a few? Like, what was the mixture of deals that was getting you to that 120?
Yeah, so that was before I became an agent. So that was a mix of wholesale deals. That was a mix of flips. And then we also had a rental that we had sold that year as well.
Okay. Yeah. So with some upside on it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think for most people, the hang up is just like I'm on my full-time gig. I'm on salary. So man, I could be like sick for 2 weeks and still get a paycheck at the end of it. Like it's that comfort of knowing that check's coming every 2 weeks or whatever it is. And so I think a lot of people like, okay, well, if I go out into this full time, like if I don't find a deal fast enough or whatever, like what would you say to somebody that's on the edge there? Like they're ready, they've done a few deals, they've got it down. Now they just need to scale and give it all they have. Like what would be in your encouragement or your advice there?
Yeah, I would say, whatever you could do, I guess I've definitely learned the power of leverage. We only have so much time. You can either spend your time or you can spend your money. And so if you've got the time to market, if you've got the time to cold call, if you've got, whatever that is that you're doing, you can only spend so much time. Or if you've got the funds to do it, you can leverage your funds and, pay a virtual assistant or partner with somebody or whatever that might be. So I would say just definitely implement as much leverage as you can to scale up, because that's one thing that I've done myself, whether it's other business ventures or real estate. As a real estate agent, the best thing I've done is hired a transaction coordinator that does all of my paperwork for me. That's the thing that I hate doing the very most in real estate, is all the paperwork. And the beautiful thing is, it's the only overhead of having a TC is when I close a deal, I pay her $350 out of my commission. Other than that, there's no hourly rate. If the deal doesn't go through, I don't pay her. It's the most amazing setup ever. Wow. And so that, just being able to find ways to leverage your time and focus on what you enjoy doing and want to do that makes the money and, gets the deals done, focus on that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think some people may say, well, I'm not quite there yet or making enough or whatever to be hiring team members. And a good friend, Evan Holiday, he was a guest on the podcast a few episodes ago. You know him, right? Yeah.
We met.
Yeah. That's right. That's how he introduced us. So that's a full circle again right there. But he said, he's like, you need to be hiring for where you want to go, not necessarily for where you're at. It's a preemptive move. It's like, okay, well, I want to be able to put my time here and here, but not here. The only way to get there is to hire. Okay, that's where I want to get to. So hire for where you want to go, not for necessarily where you're at. I mean, that's really sound advice. Really awesome. So you jump into this full time and you become an agent and you dive in. Now what's the focus? Where are you headed now?
So the funny thing is, I ironically didn't get my agent, my real estate license to become just an agent, but it's naturally just picked up over the years and the way the market is, and people knew that I was in real estate. So that was kind of part of the reason I did get my license. Is people were like, hey, can you help me buy, sell, etc. And I was like, man, how many opportunities or money am I leaving on the table here because I don't have a license? I can buy and sell my own flips, etc. So it just seemed like a good idea and it made sense for me. But naturally, over the last 3 years, I've been doing more deals as an agent than I have been on the investing side. And so whether that's good or bad, it is what it is. But I definitely, want to scale that more. And so, again, I'm building a team around me to leverage more agents. That way, I've got showing agents, or I can, I've got somebody else that can go do an open house or whatever it might be. That way I'm leveraging more of my time to focus more on the development deals and the investment deals that I want to be doing and enjoy as well.
Yeah. I like that. What's been very interesting to me is I've only really been in real estate for 18 months, maybe a couple of years. I don't know exactly, but not a long time. But what I'm learning is the networking and the connections that you make. The people that know you and the people that you know is super important. That's really where some of the opportunity comes, and the help with funding or funding deals or finding deals or education. It's all coming to the people that I know and that I meet. And so we have our local Utah chapter and meet up here, and it's been super cool. Just meeting people are so much good has come from that. And so I'm imagining that, being a real estate agent, you are in that network, you're in that world, and I'm sure connections and opportunity just comes to you from all directions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Becoming an agent has opened up so many doors. Just like you said, the cool thing is too, there's so many agents are agents and they don't know any different. They focus on the commission part of things, buying and selling. And so the investing, whether it's fix and flips, wholesales, development, like that's all brand new to them. So when I meet a lot of agents, some of my deals come from agents that know, I can bring this deal to Devin and we can close it, or we can partner, or I can represent both sides, whatever the case may be. It's definitely helped. And so as far as developing goes, I've been able to meet so many different contractors and builders and things. So it's definitely opened a lot of doors and created a lot more relationships and opportunities for me. So I'm very glad I've done it. And I realize it's not for everybody, and that's totally okay. But for me, I'm glad I've done it.
Yeah. So if somebody's just getting into real estate investing, they want to jump in and learn, like, what would your advice be as far as building their network and getting known and knowing people?
Yeah. So I get this question quite a bit, and some of them are even my new agents that are on my team. They're saying, where do I start? And I'm not really one to do paid advertisement type stuff, really. And so I tell them, network as much as you can, those meetups, those RIA groups, and social media, like that's a free advertisement anytime you want to hundreds, if not thousands of people. And so leverage that. And so, I definitely take advantage of as many networking opportunities as I can to meet people. I take advantage of social media and use that platform as much as I can, to bring value, to tell people who I am, whether it's business or personal, whatever. As people get to know you, that's when they start to like you and trust you and will do business with you. And so it's a process. And so you have to be consistent in doing that. But, and then just referrals. And so those have really been my three. Networking, social media, and referrals have really been like my go-to and just help me build my business. And again, it starts as a small snowball, but it definitely builds up quick with time if you're consistent doing it.
What's your approach, or what's your method on social media? Are you just documenting everything, like the day-to-day, like the deals that you're closing, the houses that are coming up for sale? Like, is that what you're showing, just, or what's the content that you try and focus on?
Yeah, I'll definitely mix it up. So if it's a fix and flip that we're picking up and it's something like even just entertaining, where it's like people wrote something crazy on the walls or something, and you snap a picture of it. And I shared something recently, like, check out this solid advice from a fix and flip that we picked up. And it was, I can't remember, you've got 3 choices, or I don't know, I can't even remember all the details from it, but I just share stuff as I'm going about my day to day. And so, if it's a new property that I've listed, I'll clearly share that. If it's a property that we get under contract with the buyer, I'll share that. So anything that's, market updates, statistics, bringing value and educating people and just kind of sharing what you're doing. So I don't know, I guess it's a mix of a little bit of everything, but trying to keep it honed in too. So I definitely am not the guy that, I never want to come across as arrogant or anything either. So I try and always keep it just like fun and informative and easy that way. So
no, man, we have such a great tool. I mean, social media is like kind of demonized a little bit for what it is, but like, how else would you, like, if it was like the 1800s, like, how would you network? If you needed to get into real estate investing, like, how would you network? Like, you would send a letter on the Pony Express. Like, can you imagine how much harder it would be? Now, like, I can network. Yeah, I can network with people in Ohio, California, Florida, right? I'm chatting with Evan Holiday. I'm meeting you. You live a couple hours away from me. Like, it's so easy to network and to get the word out about what you're doing.
So we can hire virtual assistants for $4 an hour from the Philippines, or it's crazy. Like we literally have anything and everything available at our fingertips if we want to.
Yeah. So. No, that's good. That's good advice. Appreciate that. So now as you're starting to go into, well, first off, I'll first ask, like, what if you're listening to this right now, we're recording this in early 2021. And the market is absolute chaos right now, like nationwide, whether it's Utah or Ohio, like it is crazy. So give us maybe your insight as far as the residential single family stuff. What's the market like right now? And where are the opportunities? So 3 questions, right? What's it like? Where are the opportunities? And what do you think where will the opportunities be in the near future?
Cool. So I'll see if I do suffer from like what I call squirrel syndrome. So I'll see if I can keep those 3 questions top of mind as we go through this. But right now, it seems like the market is crazy everywhere. We talk about all the people leaving California, but even California is having low inventory and bidding wars. And so it doesn't make sense. Like there's so little inventory everywhere that it just, it's supply and demand. And so until somehow that evens out, I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. I've got friends in Atlanta, Georgia area that are having to pay 40, 50 grand over to really be over asking price to be competitive. But even, I talked to an agent from California today, and they said they listed 1,000 square foot house, 3-bed, 1-bath for $750, and it's under contract for $850. So it's everywhere. It's not just here in Utah, which is insane too. But so I don't see it slowing down unless something crazy happens, because it's usually, they say, like if I were to look on the MLS today, there's about 2,200 properties available. And there's about 18,000 agents in Utah. So it's crazy. Like obviously there's a reason why most agents are very part-time and just kind of do it as a side hustle. Yeah. And most of them probably do about 2 to 3 deals a year, which makes sense. But until that changes, I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, especially with interest rates low. I do feel at some point we've got a plateau, because the crazy appreciation, like the 15 to 20% that we've seen just over in the last year in Utah, that's not sustainable. Like that's crazy. So I hope that we see some kind of plateau here soon. But again, with interest rates and with so many people coming from out of state, I don't see it changing in the near future. Opportunity, I say the opportunity right now is the off-market stuff. Again, being an agent and on the investing side, that's what we're all about. There's opportunity on the MLS, but it's pretty far, pretty slim, and so that's not my focus really as far as opportunities go for off-market or for deals. But yeah, so if you've got wholesalers, if you are willing to knock doors or driving for dollars or whatever that may be, there's still plenty of opportunity that way. And I think just educating yourself as well, because at some point too, when people are going to have to start paying rent and have to start making mortgage payments, that I think that'll definitely change things. And so if you can educate yourself on creative financing, I think, any market that you're in, as long as you know how to structure deals and do deals, there's going to be plenty of opportunity in any market.
Yeah.
And remind me, what was the other question?
Yeah. So so you talked about kind of the market as it is. Where's the opportunity now, and where's the this is the crystal ball question, right? Where's the opportunity in the future? But you stated like, we don't really know where it's going to go. There's something will have to change. In fact, I just got a notification on my phone. The Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, says interest rates may have to rise. So there's that, right? We'll see what happens, but we don't know. But where would you direct somebody kind of in the future, or what to keep an eye on going into the future of where those opportunities may be?
I guess it just depends on what somebody's goals are, whether that's, I know you're the type, you're doing your burrs and so, I very few times in history has rent really gone down, so if the cash flow game is yours and building appreciation long term, that's a type where I like the money in my hand sooner rather than later with fix and flips or rent or wholesales. But I had a friend if you could do the last 5 years over again in real estate, what would you do differently? And one of my responses was picking up more rentals. And not doing more deals. Clearly, like you said, we don't have that crystal ball, but I could have done so many more fix and flips. I could have collected so many more rentals along the way. And if I were to sell them now or whatever, I'd have way more money than I do. But I'm pretty dang. The funny thing is, I'm pretty dang conservative, and some people, depending on their situation, they do. I guess I'm the type, I never tell somebody to do a deal just to do a deal. The numbers have to make sense. You've got to be confident and comfortable in doing things. And so thankfully, knock on wood, like I've never lost money on a deal, but it's because I'm, uber conservative. But at the same time, how many opportunities have I maybe missed out on because I was too conservative? So sometimes like I have that inner battle on like, how aggressive do I get? How far do I push that line a little bit? And so I don't know, there's definitely some give and take, but yeah, there's opportunity everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's great. I agree. There's opportunity everywhere. It does depend on what your ultimate goal is. That's going to kind of direct you to what opportunities to take advantage of. And so that's ultimately kind of the question that you have to be asking yourself for sure. So going forward, or now you're kind of trying to transition to some multifamily development. Tell us more about that journey, kind of that step. Where are you focused? What are you trying to accomplish there?
Yeah. So as I've learned with time is, as an agent, you can make 3% commission, or as you do a fix and flip or a wholesale, maybe you can make 5 or 10%, spreads. But you look at development and construction and different things, and you're like, man, these guys are making 15, 20% on some of these deals. And so I just opened my eyes to what opportunities were there. And sometimes, whether it's a single family home or a 20-plex, it might take the same amount of time to go through the underwriting or whatever it might be. It's the same process. It's just, it might be different numbers, but it's the same process. And so you can do that same process for a single family home. And I wanted those opportunities for the cash flow. And so I'm looking at, okay, do I want to pick up one single family home at a time? Or do I want to focus on maybe, one apartment building at a time, or, bigger opportunities where, it's again the same process, but just a couple extra zeros on the deal.
Yeah.
So that's where I focused more of my time, and building that long-term wealth and cash flow, and being able to retire sooner rather than later. So that's where a lot of my time and effort and focus has gone towards.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I think, and that's exactly what intrigues me about the multifamily stuff and syndicating deals there, is there's just the upside's pretty big. There's still some time commitment, and there's no easy deals yet, or at least in today's market, but the upside can be pretty awesome. Especially 4 or 5 years down the road when you reposition or you refinance it or sell it or whatever, like it can be pretty awesome. So I think everybody should be at least learning about what those opportunities are like.
Sure. Sorry, I was going to say the other thing that I enjoy about it too is on most single family deals, it's hard to have enough, like, so to speak, meat on the bone for, more than 1 or 2 people on a deal. But on these bigger deals, it's fun because you can create your own team. You can have, 5 or 10 people, or maybe not that many, but you can have a handful of people on these bigger projects, and there's still plenty of meat on the bone, or, so to speak, for everybody to share in that. And I enjoy that part. I really love people, and that's probably one of the things I enjoy most about real estate, are the people involved in it. And so being able to do bigger deals with more people is just enjoyable and more fun for me.
Yeah, you're very right. That's super cool. So tell us, like, okay, so if somebody's just trying to get in, they're just getting into real estate, maybe they're setting some goals. What are 2 or 3 tips that you would give them as they're getting started in the real estate world?
Definitely plug into, the meetup groups, the podcasts. Find somebody that you can connect with, whether, like you said, we have social media at our fingertips. Not everybody's going to give away their time and knowledge for free, but if you can connect with people, whether it is through social media or on a local level, and you can say, hey, how can I help you? And it's helping you accomplish your goals by doing that. Let's bring a deal and do a deal together type thing, or whatever. Like, find people that are like Evan talked about, hire for where you want to be. Do that same thing when you're networking and connecting and meeting people. Like, network with people that are already doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so surround yourself with the people that are doing the types of deals that you want to do, and they're already at, where you want to be.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a good play on that tip of advice. I love that. So network, it's so easy to do it in today's age. Meet the people that you want to be like, or that are doing the things that you want to do. And there's a lot of free education out there. There's also a lot of paid for, guru stuff, which is fine. But I mean, there's a lot of meetups that will get you introduced to a new topic. Not super in depth, but at least get you introduced to where you can start doing some research and start understanding if that fits your model and that fits your goals, those kinds of things. So all investors, new investors, especially when they get started in it, there's always like obstacles. There's always difficulty. What would you say to somebody that's, starting to ask themselves if they're ever going to make it, and if it's ever going to be worth it?
Yeah, all of us can find a million excuses not to do something, but in reality, all we need is one good excuse to do something. There's never going to be a perfect time or a perfect situation. You've got to create the time, you've got to create the situation. And as you're prepared, you will recognize and you can take advantage of those opportunities. So I feel like it's just a matter of that consistency and commitment. And, there's never that perfect time or perfect opportunity. You've got to create it. You've got to prepare for it.
Yeah, I agree. And there's also what I learned early on in my career, if you can call it that, a couple years now, was that there's no perfect time. There's also no like perfect scenario or perfect deal. Like there's always going to be some unknown. There's always going to be some assumptions. Some like, well, we're going to put this number here, but it could be this percentage, certain percentage off. Like there's always a little bit of unknown and imperfections with any deal. At least that's been maybe I'm not good enough to find the perfect deals, but there always is some unknown. There's always reasons, like you said, there's always reasons to not do a deal. Right. But if the numbers work and you can make sense out of it and you can hedge it and there's an exit, like then it's doable. And so I talked myself out of a lot of deals early on because I was looking for like, hey, well, the book I read said it had to check these boxes and have this number. And if it didn't, I was like walking away from it. But as I learned, I'm like, okay, well, this is why these numbers make sense as a good guideline. But here's where I can stray from them and still make sense out of the deal. And so you start to learn that, yeah, like you said, there's no perfect time. There's no perfect deal. You're going to have to just hedge your bet and jump into it is kind of what I learned early on.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, with experience, because everyone's going to go through that learning curve, but as you stay committed and dedicated to that process, you've learned, and so now you know how to address those concerns or hedge that risk a little bit to still do a deal and still make it work versus before you just pass on it and now you might be kicking yourself, but you've learned. So there's that learning curve for everyone.
Yeah. As you've met and as you have networked, you've probably networked with a lot of successful people in real estate investing. What's the most common characteristic that you see in those people that are just really crushing it in real estate or in whatever it is that they're doing?
I would say they just haven't quit. They just, the only time you fail is when you decide to give up. And so as long as you don't quit, you keep moving forward, you go through that learning curve. The more deals you do, the more experience and knowledge that you have, the better you can position yourself to take advantage of those opportunities that come. Because deals that I'm doing now, I never would have even thought about those types of deals, or, those opportunities probably came by all the time the first 3-4 years I was in it, but I didn't know how to take advantage or capitalize on those deals. And so now, because of those relationships and because of that knowledge and things, my income and other things have definitely flourished because of that.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And just the other day, we got an appraisal back on one of the Burr properties that we're trying to do our cash out refinance on. And it was low, so low. And so I'm like, well, crap, am I doing this wrong? You know what, maybe let's just sell all these properties. We'll take our $125,000 in equity or whatever it is. And let's go buy some toys and just go on a vacation, whatever. There was this fleeting thought of yeah, screw this. This is hard. Maybe I won't be able to figure this out. Let's just quit and we'll go do something else, cause it's a lot of effort and it's emotional. Yeah. And, but I'm no, it's cool. We'll fight this. I got the comps. The agent was the guy, my agent out in Ohio was yeah, that's crazy low. He sent me comps. There's all kinds of data in the world saying that this thing is way off. And so we're obviously going to try and get another appraisal, fight that. I've never had to fight one like this before. So if you have any tips, let me know. But we're going to keep pushing through and I'm sure it'll pay off down the road and we'll get what we need to get out of it. And we're not going to quit. We're going to keep going. So and the funny thing is I had kind of gotten to a point where I was okay, I got a system, I got a thing, I know what I'm doing now. I shouldn't have any obstacles. But it was a rude reminder that I was oh, no, actually, there will always be resistance. Like there will always be challenges. If you're pushing the limits of yourself and your mind and your ability, you will always experience resistance and obstacles and challenges. If you're not, then it's a good sign that you're not growing and you're not going anywhere. And so it's a true reminder, but it was a brutal reminder that, hey, there's still going to be some resistance, even though we've got good momentum going. So I agree with that. Just being consistent, just pushing through the bad days, embracing the suck of all this sometimes and just not quitting. That's great advice.
Yeah. The emotions of the entrepreneur roller coaster are very real.
Yeah, I did not expect it, but it is up and down and up and down. So awesome. A few more questions here and then we'll wrap up. I appreciate your time, man. This has been awesome. What's one of your favorite books or one that's had the biggest impact in your life?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, but the one that probably started the transition for me was, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which most people, if you have not read it for any reason, I would start there today. But just the whole mindset, it's night and day difference. And it's, unfortunately, our school system, whether it's elementary or even universities and colleges now, don't teach that. And so I knew as a kid I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a business owner. I had no idea what that looked like because I'd never been taught that. But deep down, that's what I always wanted, was the freedom and the opportunity of entrepreneurship. I just didn't know how to go about doing that. And luckily, real estate kind of helped open my eyes. And so Rich Dad, Poor Dad was definitely the one that's like, oh, hey, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
And so that definitely helped put me on the right track.
Yeah, awesome. I agree. That book will mess your life up. Like if you're going along at your day job and you think you got you got your 401k and your retirement plan, it'll mess your life up in a good way. And those are the best books. Like, the ones that mess your life up, those are the books that you should be reading.
Yes.
So
you got to break
awesome.
the mold. Yep. Break the mold.
Yeah, exactly. So talk to us a little bit about because you mentioned like the financial freedom and having freedom of time. Like, do you feel like you've obtained that right balance where you're getting after your goals, you're progressing, you're being successful, but you still have a good life balance? Or is that still something you're shooting for? Like, because the reason I ask that question is because sometimes people get so caught up in the fire, right? The financial independence, the financial freedom. And that's like, they just all costs are trying to get to this magical place where they have passive income and they don't have to work anymore and they sit on the beach. And I don't know that that's really the ultimate. I don't think that should be the goal. I think there should be a certain, and because oftentimes that's like down the road or that's like in a distant future. And I think a lot of people could live very close to the life that they kind of want if they just restructured. Like you said, you can only spend your time or your money. They find the right balance there and they could have the life that they kind of want a lot sooner. That was a long question, but you know what I mean? Like, where are you kind of at in that journey and that mindset?
Yeah. If I were a single guy, I truly love and enjoy real estate and what I do so much. I could probably hustle real estate all day. Yeah. From sun up to sundown. Yeah. But I'm married with 5 kids. And so I've got to hone that in quite a bit. And so luckily, even today, before we jumped on here, I was able to go pick up my kids from school and work from home most of the day. And so, there's no perfect mix. It's so different for everybody constantly. And, there's different stages of life. I've got 5 kids between 10 years old and 10 months old. And so I've got, 3 older kids that are fairly independent and in school. And then I've got 2 kids, 2 and under that, diapers and feeding and, they constantly demanding. But I guess you just work that out with luckily my wife tells me often when she needs my help. And when hey, let's take a break, or I need this, or type things. So she's good at communicating to me when there needs to be more balance, or when she needs me to be around, and so, I could do it all day long, but I think having some structure and just being flexible and just that open communication, whether it's with your spouse or whatever, like just having that is, I think, constant and ongoing. Yeah. And so, and as stages change with my kids and things, that might change a little bit too. And so it's just an ongoing, not a battle, that sounds bad, but just an ongoing process in life, I think. And so I definitely haven't found that perfect fit of the financial freedom and working and things that a big focus on my for this year financially is to create more passive income. That way I feel like I can have more freedom on, the goal is to create enough where more than my monthly expenses are covered coming in every month. That way, in the back of my mind, I know that I'm good and I don't have to feel guilty sometimes for working or doing certain things where I feel like maybe I should be with family or should be doing other things. And so, a focus this year has been to push a lot more on creating that monthly passive income to ease that burden a little bit. Yeah. So, sorry, that was a long answer, but that's perfect. It's an ongoing deal for sure.
Yeah, and it'll be fairly dynamic. I mean, it's always going to be changing and adjusting as life changes. So I always love to ask that question and just like understand kind of where people are and how they view that balance and that, and how to play that game a little bit. So that's awesome, Devin. Appreciate the time. Any final words of advice, any tips you can leave with our listeners as we wrap it up here?
Don't be afraid to enter the unknown, like everything for the first time, it's always scary. The first, the first time you drive a car, you're like, holy crap. But now we drive cars like it's second nature. You don't even think about it. You just jump in a car and you drive. And so the only reason that fear is there is because it's the unknown. And so, just whatever that might be, whether it's real estate or business or whatever, just go into it committed to doing it and make it a part of who you are and what you do. Because then it just becomes second nature. So
that's perfect, man. That's perfect. Jumping into the unknown. Well, I appreciate this, man. If people want to connect with you or just follow what you're doing, where should we send them? We'll put that in the show notes here.
Yeah. So I am most frequently on Facebook, Devin Hubbard, and you can find me on Instagram at Devin R. Hubbard. And those are probably, the two easiest ways to find me.
Perfect. Yeah. And if you're in Utah and need to buy or sell a house, then hit Devin up, right?
Yeah, appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, man. It's been an awesome conversation. I was excited to hear the story and all the ongoings behind the scenes. So appreciate that, man. You had a good rest of your day.
Okay. Thanks, Justin.
Thanks for listening to the Money Maven Project podcast. A true Maven shares knowledge with others, so be sure to share this podcast and leave a review. Thanks so much, and until next time, live life with intention.